All right, everyone, and welcome to the first subcast of 2023, as Megan pointed out in the chat prior to us popping on the video and going live. So we appreciate everyone for making it again to another episode. We're going to try to do these things again every week this year. That was the goal. I know last year we almost did it. Kind of. We got more than 50% of the weeks, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. We're trying our best. So if you want to be a guest on the Cyber Social Hub and just come on and really just, it's talking about all things geek, anywhere from OSINT to, reverse engineering, electronics to pull information and data out, whatever you want to talk about. Just get a hold of us. You can send an email to me directly at kevin@cybersocialhub.com or contact@cybersocialhub.com. What do you want to do? Just let me know and come on the show. The main thing is here that we want to teach you something, right? We want to teach you a life experience that may help you in your career or, something we may have experienced, either myself or the guests that I have on. Hopefully something you walk away that will help you. If not, we just hope we really entertain you, because that's ultimately what it is, because we have to have these on Friday, every Friday, as much as we can at 2:00. And we know, and that's Eastern time, of course. And we know that once 2:00 comes rolling around on a Friday, that the sleepies kick in after lunch, right? So that's one of our main purposes here. Also, real quick, I want to thank everyone who attended and registered for Cyber Social Con. And that is our annual conference. Now, we did that, I think it was December 14th, 15th, I think. Megan, I'm sure will yell at me if that's not right. I'm almost positive that's right. It was a great one. Man, it was the best one we've ever had. So literally, we had a little bet going internally. There was no actual monetary. It was more bragging rights to who was right internally here at Cyber Social Hub. It's like, how many people do you think are going to register this year for our conference? The first year, just so you guys keep it in perspective, was right around 250 people, which is pretty good. We were ecstatic that it happened, right? And the next year, which was in 2021, we had about 600 plus register for the event. And we were like, whoa, we never thought that would happen, that many people would want to learn from all these experts we gathered. So it's really about the people that are speaking at the event that this happens. And then this year, right, just less than a month ago, we had... Megan, what was the final number? I think it was like 870-ish, give or take, that registered for the event. I was like, holy moly. Now, we extended the event a little bit and had some really phenomenal speakers. We can't fit everyone in, but next year we're planning on changing things up a little bit. So thank you, everyone, especially to all the speakers and all the people that attended. It's still available out there if you just go to Cyber Social Hub. I left a button up on the menu. It says Cyber Social Con. You can click that and still register, still watch all the videos. Again, it's free. Doesn't cost you guys anything. We're going to always try our best to keep it that way, even though costs are starting to rise slowly as it gets bigger. Again, we're always going to try to keep it that way. So I hope you guys attended. I'm just curious here out of the audience. I know it's a smaller audience this morning because we didn't push this a whole lot. We did send out a lot of emails about it, but I think I don't know if that number is accurate or not. But if you guys attended, let me know. We sent out a post survey out of it, and if you did get that, and if you attended, we'd love to hear from you to see what you guys thought and how we can make it better, right? Other than just keeping it free, which we always will our best to do so, then we'd like to know how we can make it better for you. If you need to learn a specific topic or more something you'd like to see of, that's our goal, right? Is to make sure that you guys are getting what you need for your investigations, whether it's OSINT, digital forensics, whatever. We're here for you as best that we can. If I don't know the answer, which I don't know a lot of these anymore that are coming through the hub, I try to find a resource for you that will help you out. So again, just let us know for that. And some of you probably noticed, which nobody made a comment, which I'm surprised. I have a new background, right? Oops, wrong side. I'm mirrored. I forgot. I have a new office. It's not like new office. We didn't upgrade digs or anything like that. It's still my hole down here in the basement, but we just made it look a little different. And all of my themed fun stuff. I put all my nerd stuff for the most part out there. I got a little bit more to go, but yeah, it's coming along. That's why I can hear this little echo. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. It's driving me bonkers. I have all this sound deadening material laying on the floor over here. I got to finish putting up, so it's absorbing this stuff. It's driving me nuts. All right. Anyway, I won't go off on one of my rampant tangents, but we got a pretty good guest lined up today. He's been a friend of mine for. I've known him for a long time. I don't want to age him too terribly bad, right? But I'll be aging myself equally as bad. But I think we first met at shows. And I tell you what, his knowledge in the industry is something you definitely want to pay attention to and try to absorb. If we could do the Matrix style, hey, just plug into the back of your head and give me that knowledge, I absolutely would. So I'm going to bring him up here right now because I see he's patiently waiting in the waiting area there for us. So let's push this little button and make it happen. There's Greg. How are you doing, Greg?
Good, Kevin. How are you?
I am phenomenal. Now, one of the things that not many people probably know about you, and a lot of people, if they've gone to any type of show, because I think you go to most of them, right?
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, you go to most of them, and if people don't know, you travel. That's what you do. I mean, literally, your home is on wheels.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. July of 21, my wife and I went full time in our RV, sold our home and all that good stuff, and just really enjoying it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So where are you at right now exactly?
We are in Kanab, Utah. It's a little place right on the border of Utah and Arizona between St. George and Page. So yeah, we're down on the border.
At least you're a semi-warm where you're not like up in northern Ohio, like where I'm at, right? And
Well,
yeah,
when we got here right before Christmas, it was 6 degrees the first night. So it does get cold, but it warms up in the day. Um, yeah,
it
it's
was, it was a heat
we,
wave.
we got to be somewhere, so it's nice. We like the
Seriously.
cold after living
Yeah,
in the mountains of West Virginia for 18 years. So,
yeah, no doubt, right? You would have
yep.
experienced the weather we had here in Ohio, northern Ohio. It was with wind chill. I don't know for sure. At one time, I did look at it. I don't know what the worst temperature was. It was minus 32, and I was like, why am I still in Ohio? I don't
That
really know.
that would be difficult.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then and most of you guys know that we got a new dog in the end of June, beginning of July of this past year. And of course, somebody's got to take this dog out in minus 32. And my wife and kids are like, no, it's all you. So I was out there standing there and freezing, trying to take the dog out to do his thing, but it's cold. But so how does that work? Because you're still
Yep.
working. You're with Wegatech, right? And man, you're still traveling around
Yep.
and you're working, right?
Uh, yeah, I work part time, um, and all the work that I do, I can do on the road. So really, all I need is a way to get FedEx packages and email and get online occasionally. And um, right now, I'm connected via an AT&T hotspot. Um, so hopefully, it'll stay solid for us.
Oh yeah,
Mostly solid.
I think so. It's looking pretty good. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. You see, it's things I don't ever think of. You have to take internet considerations into to where you go, right, and where you park that thing.
It exactly because RV parks will advertise, yeah, we got free Wi-Fi. Well, it's not created equal. The park here has pretty decent connectivity, but
Right.
some places they say they've got Wi-Fi, but you can barely get connected to it. And if you get connected to it, you can't do anything. So we've got we've got the AT&T one, and we've got a Verizon hotspot as well. I haven't gone to Starlink to get their uh, satellite internet because it it's just overkill for what I need. And at $140 a month,
Oh yeah,
um,
that's
that's
it's
that's pretty steep after you spend almost $600 for the hardware, and it's still not where you can guarantee that's going to be your cost every month because it's no contract and they can change the price at will, and they have.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that as a because it just became available not too long ago here in northern Ohio. They got enough satellites up where I was looking at it as a backup because
Hmm.
anything can knock down a cable line here in Ohio and
Sure.
suddenly you're done. So a backup would be nice. The cost is a little pricey, but I mean at the we're internet critical here, right? Everything we do, all of a sudden
Yeah,
becomes internet
exactly.
critical. So we got to have keep that up and running as best we can. But I've
Yep.
looked at it. I'd be curious to see in the comments down below if anyone has Starlink, any experiences with it. So I forgot to mention, Craig, I got us broadcasting out. I'm testing it again on 4 different social platforms. So normally we're just broadcasting to YouTube and going out to YouTube directly. That way people can interact and chat with us. And if you've seen the chat, I don't know if you have on your screen there. Most of it looks like it's coming from YouTube, but if you're on Facebook right now too, you can interact with us and chat. Unfortunately, LinkedIn and Twitter, which we're also broadcasting out to, they don't allow the APIs to do the whole communication thing and talk back and forth. I guess it would be hard on Twitter just the way it's designed, but see if they change that.
Well, everything that I've read about Starlink, for home use, it's
Mhm.
pretty doggone solid.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as much as it is for RVers because they charge the RVers and boaters a premium for being able to change their location at
Uh,
will. Yeah, it's about $15 to $20 a month extra, maybe even a little bit more. But everything I've read is, people are getting crazy speeds, over 200 meg down and all
wow,
that good stuff. So it's, yeah,
that's not
it,
bad.
it
That's not
ain't it
for
ain't bad if you got it working well.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't. I have no. I haven't researched it a whole terribly lot, but I mean, years ago I was a gamer. I would have been concerned about ping going clear up to a bird and coming clear back down. But now it's not so much anymore. My kids will play Minecraft with me, and that's about it. We set up our own Minecraft
yeah.
servers uh,
Oh,
and,
neat.
and play those, but that's about it. So hey, I'm a little curious, and I know we got off topic like immediately because that's
Yep.
just the nature of what we do.
Well, that's what
We've known
happens.
each other for a while going to these shows, and so what I'm curious about, and maybe some people in the audience are curious about, is how you got started in the digital forensic world. If you want to kind of start off in beginning,
Yeah.
don't go back to birth,
It,
man. We'll be here a while.
no, no, no. Um, well, I'll start at my law enforcement career beginning, which was in 1981. And yes, I am old, um, much older than Kevin is. So I graduated from the Air Force Office of Special Investigations Academy in 1981 and became a technically trained special agent, which basically meant that we did behind the scenes stuff, electronic surveillance countermeasures, and we were dealing with, collecting uh, analog evidence at that point, because everything was either on, audio tape or VHS tape or Betamax, heaven forbid, and film.
Yeah.
So early on, I got into managing evidence files and stuff like that, and we'll fast forward a little bit to the 1990s, and I got stationed at our headquarters at Bolling Air Force Base in DC to teach new tech agents how to be tech agents. And we shared this office with these guys that has these great big IBM desktops on their table, and they ran around doing basically base level fraud investigations. So they'd go into a supply unit and run all these queries on their databases to see if there was any purchasing fraud going on.
Hmm.
And one day they came to us and said, "Hey, how do you splice videotape?" And you're like, "What? You want to splice videotape? Why?" "Well, no, we don't want to splice videotape. We want to put together a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk that's been cut up with pinking shears." And pinking shears are the scissors that people that sew use to cut the cloth so it doesn't fray. So it makes it a, zigzag kind of pattern. Well, after watching them practice I guess it was a couple of months. Um, they went through probably a dozen 5 1/4 inch floppy disks because they kept breaking the heads off. And one of the guys had tapped a head on the top of the um, floppy disk drive so that they could apply some pressure to that head as it was reading the pieces of the cut up floppy disk when they actually were practicing, and then when they did the real one. Well, I was standing over their shoulder the day that they pulled up a piece of a paragraph that proved that the suspect had had his wife murdered. And the suspect was an OSI special agent in the Philippines.
Oh, geez.
The federal government had already declined to prosecute him because there wasn't any evidence. 3M, CIA, none of these guys could get that data back. But this computer crime investigator in OSI got the data, and the suspect is doing life in Leavenworth.
That's awesome.
And, and I right then I knew that I wanted to be in computer crime, and so I started working with them as I could, and was able to transfer full time in 1993. Took my first forensics course through Search,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then we there at the headquarters we expanded our mission a little bit into intrusion investigations, and that's kind of what we did for the rest of my career. And I learned early on that your hardware matters. Before you go out on a job, you got to validate it. You got to make sure it works, and that includes cables. Because if you're out doing a covert installation, someplace at midnight, you can't be running around finding cables or a new camera or that kind of stuff. And it transcends right into doing digital evidence collections.
Right. Right.
So that's how it began.
Sure. And then how'd you end up over at Weeby Tech?
Well, um, when I retired from the Air Force, I went to work as a contractor in computer security at the National Reconnaissance Office,
Mm-hmm.
and spent almost 2 years there. And then the program manager at OSI, Dave Morrow, retired and went to Ernst & Young to build their computer forensics practice, and ended up being there, and went to a .gon. It was a .com period at the time, and
Right.
yeah, well, .gon.
I've not heard of that before. That's kind of funny.
So when the .gon was disappearing, um, I was one of the last people in the company that actually understood the financial package. So I didn't get laid off. Um, Actually, none of my forensics guys got laid off. But up until then, really the only forensic hardware we had was just computers that were, kind of built for doing um, investigations, or that we used for um, doing our analysis. And there was the only software we had that was specific to digital forensics was a piece of software called SafeBack, and that was for collecting your images. And if you didn't understand the hardware, like primary master, secondary master, or slave and master jumper settings and all that, you could overwrite your evidence with a blank drive easy, because SafeBack would do exactly what you told it to do.
Oh boy, yeah.
And so when we left the .gon, I joined another former OSI agent in a company that I had kind of helped him start, Forensic Computers, and we were building computers for law enforcement, corporate security. One of the guys at NASA IG brought a computer that he had built in a Pelican briefcase. He had a monitor in the lid and computer in the case, and it would hold a keyboard and all that, so they could go in. But the way it had been built, the connections for the computer were sticking out of the bottom, if you were to stand the briefcase up on its edge like a briefcase would sit.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And we just couldn't, warranty something like that, because as soon as you set it down, dirt's gonna get in all those connectors, and it was pretty finicky. So we came up with a way to do that same concept for them in the same Pelican briefcase. And so we were moving along with computers for law enforcement and corporate security, and I got tired of having to use SafeBack and worrying about it. And so we contacted a company in California, Granite Digital, and asked them about their external drive bays that were designed for Macs. They
Mm-hmm.
had a FireWire connection from the external bay to the um, computer, and you could put an IDE drive in it. And so this guy's name comes back around because originally we had one of this guy's products. It was a Trantor cable, gave you a parallel port connection on one end and a SCSI port connection on the other, so you could plug in SCSI drives to your PC. Well,
Scuzzy.
that was Robert Bocek.
Look at that, going back in
And
history. Scuzzy drives. How many people in the audience?
yeah,
Scuzzy drive. That'd be interesting to see. Yeah.
yeah. And Robert had sold that company to Adaptec, and he was also doing engineering for Granite Digital, and he modified the firmware on their bridges so that they were read only, so that your computer could not write to the drive. And we got the boards, packaged them in a little aluminum case, and we were off and running with write blockers. I came across WeeBTech the first time, it was probably 2003 at the DEA lab in Norton, Virginia. And I went out there to do some stuff with them, and they said, "Hey, look at this. This is a write blocker from a guy named James Wiebe." Oh, that's pretty neat. And um, about the same time, Robert had moved from California to Wisconsin, and I wanted him to build a switch for me because I had taken some Radio Shack parts and built a switch that I could control the power on a Molex connector, so that we could properly hot swap the bridges we had from Granite Digital. And so Robert built the switch. It was the first product that Tableau made, and they made it for us. And he came and visited us to see if we were real and all this good stuff. And so we convinced him that building write blockers in a much better fashion was the way to go. And that's how Tableau got rolling. And over the years, I did an awful lot of testing of Tableau products and some WeeBTech products. So I ended up in 2016. My wife and I left our jobs at Forensic Computers, and I started doing some consulting for Black Bag Technologies on their Q&A team, and um, doing some work for Randy at CRU, which Randy had bought WeeBTech several years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a propensity for breaking things. And so the engineers always busting my chops about breaking something. And I say, look, Randy pays you to build it and me to break it. So, that's kind of the way it goes. So I've been doing some testing and sales and marketing and going to shows and stuff, um, telling people about how you validate your write blockers and your other hardware since then. And, it continues. It's a lot of fun. Um, I get to help people. I still get my foot in the door of helping people put bad guys in jail.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people forget a little bit about that element, right? And especially with someone with your background in history, even some of the stories you've told, I've never even heard before, which is amazing. And some of your experience, and I know we were talking a little bit pre-show, right? In before we went live
Hmm.
about how I forgot to tell you what the title was when I talked to you earlier this week of the Hubcast, but I knew it fit right into to your expertise, no problem. And I think the comment you made was, you guess that's been your whole career, in which it has. I mean, you're like
Yeah,
some of the OG stuff, tinkering, putting stuff together. I don't know anyone that builds their own stuff like that. I mean, anymore, right? Um,
yeah,
the
right.
technology has gotten into the microchip level, and it makes it a little bit more challenging to build
Yeah.
stuff out.
My eyes are a little bad for surface mount technology these days. But yeah, you know, your title was something along the lines of why does hardware matter?
Mm-hmm.
Well, hardware matters because the integrity of the evidence matters.
Oh, there we just lost Greg. Bye, Greg. Oh goodness, I so something just happened where he went poof. Man, that was the quickest poof I've ever seen in my life. What happened? Oh, he's dialing back in. Hold on. Let's bring him back here. Maybe was it going to ring again? Maybe not. There we go. There's the shadow figure. There he's back.
Oh,
All right.
I'm back!
We call
Yay!
that.
Uh,
It's funny. Megan just mentioned it in chat, and sorry, you're getting a little razz down there from Ron. Hardware and connections matter.
yes, no, exactly.
We
Um,
call that whenever that happens to a guest, we call it they've gone stage diving, right? Because we're up on stage, and
yeah.
off you went into the audience, and you were gone.
Whee! Um, you know, it, it, it's not a bad example because um, in the forensics world, you can test all your gear before you go out to do a job, which you should be doing because if you're going out to do a black bag job for law enforcement in the evening, you don't want to be going in and out of the location multiple times because your hardware doesn't work, or if you're doing it in the civil world and you're going into uh, a hostile, if you will, attorney's office, meaning an attorney's office for the other side, you've got to go in there with your ducks in a line, and
Nope. Wait a minute. His
you've got
internet.
to know that it's going to work. And my video is like, um,
Yep, your video
uh,
froze up
um,
on us, Greg. There, you're back.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
The good news is here about your
craziness.
connection going a little bit wonky right here. I'm going to talk a little bit and try to hopefully your internet will
Yep.
come back in. Is you had some weird static behind you. It was like a clicking static. I don't know if it's gone. If anyone from the audience knows, it's gone now. It's definitely not on our end here. Yeah, but your connection, your disconnection, and your pop back. Yeah, it fixed the static. I don't hear it anymore in my earbuds. So whatever happened,
That
it actually was a
it,
bonus.
it could be the local cell service, and that's one of the problems. Is usually if a cell service like AT&T, their hotspot data goes down, you're probably going to be down at Verizon as well. So it's weird, but yeah. So everything hardware wise goes back to the integrity of the evidence, and
Yep.
that's you know one example is the guys at NASA built their own forensic workstations, and half of them would hash the drive perfectly after an image.
Mm-hmm.
The other half would not. No matter what they did,
Wow.
and they were practically identical machines. And I say practically because we found out that the machines that worked had a high quality RAM in them, and the ones that didn't, well, it was inferior RAM. So they replaced that RAM, and all of a sudden, all of those machines were uh, validating the integrity of the evidence by, you know, matching the hashes. And we saw that in several different places. It's hard to tell when you're buying computer components if what the website says is accurate about this motherboard and this RAM matching.
Oh boy, yeah.
Um, and that's one of the things that we were really good at Forensic Computers is making sure that when we sent something out the door, it worked. Um, We had some hang-ups. We had one situation where ATF got some lunchbox size computers, and their imaging system would not, image with matching the hashes. And come to find out that if the machine had both sticks of RAM in it, it wouldn't work. But if you took either one of the sticks out, it would work. Well, we ended up working with a manufacturer of the motherboard, and they found out that, yep, as soon as you added that second stick of RAM, it created a timing mismatch. And
Mhm.
so the data wasn't flowing the way it was supposed to. And so we replaced the RAM and everything was fine. It was crazy. It didn't come up in our testing because we were using an early version of Encase's Imager, and it seemed to work fine. But yeah, you have to test this stuff no matter what I tell you about a right blocker or somebody else tells you about the system. You have to test it.
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of the newer examiners. So again, I'm not dissing anyone. It's just I don't think that the instruction was properly given to them. Is that we put a lot of trust in our hardware and don't think twice about it. But again, it has to be tested just like our software did, right? I mean, I hope everyone is validating the software that they're using to make sure the findings are. Now, I know for a fact that they're not. And hey, if you can swing it, then I'm not, you be you, man. But I have to admit, there's some things that I didn't do. But hardware, I always forget to do hardware. I'm luckily, knock on the fake wood desk here, is that I got really lucky with some of the stuff, the tools that I was using, because
Yep.
man, it could have been a nightmare. And you got to test it like everything else, right?
Yep. Over the years, there's only been a very, very small number of situations where a Tableau right blocker or a WeBTech right blocker got out into the wild with a firmware issue. I
Mm.
mean, very minute possibilities of that happening because of the rigorous testing that's done. Um, to my knowledge, no evidence was damaged during that because it was found with people actually doing the right thing and testing the stuff. I got a call one time when I was still at Forensic Computers, and
Mm-hmm.
this government investigator was reaming me up one side and down the other because this bay-mounted Tableau right blocker didn't right block her evidence. And I'm okay. Well, explain to me what you did. Well, they had this. I think it was the T35IU or some bay mount right blocker. I can't remember, but it right blocked all kinds of stuff. And on the face of that right blocker were some USB ports that were designed to allow you to plug in your Encase FTK dongles, and it was a pass through to the USB bus, and it was advertised as such. Well, they had plugged in a USB drive into that was evidence, and of course it wasn't right blocked. And she was pissed, and I said, "So you didn't do any testing of the hardware?" I said, "Look, why don't you pass me through to so and so, his her boss, who I knew?" And I explained to him what was going on, and he's like, "Ugh, I had told them to do that, to learn the product before they use any evidence on it." And you know, it, you have to do it. Um,
Oh boy, in a big way, yeah.
yeah, you don't want to find out on the stand that you plugged the evidence in and some dates and times changed because, Windows will stomp all over it. Typically not user files, but system files will get their dates and times changed. The last time I did a check, the Windows stomped on almost 1,000 different files. And it's been years since I did that, so it's probably stomping on more. But yeah, you got to test it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's really important. And Ron points out a an interesting fact here is that I'll pop this up here on the screen real quick. Is NIST has a guide for testing right blockers, but what
Exactly.
about um, you know not just right blockers, right? Let's talk. That's the obvious thing, right? Obviously, we want to protect our evidence. We don't
Mhm.
want to destroy our original evidence. heaven forbid
Right.
that it happens. When it happens, you do your best to explain what
Yep. Yep.
happened, rights that
If it
happen.
happens, you document it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, because, we're human. In early days, this was new technology when we were out there doing it. And, you were obviously doing it much longer before I was. Not to get on your age or anything, I'm just saying. But, yeah. But, so a lot of the things you're still working on the standardization. But what about testing like a new hard drive to make sure that that's writing and reading properly in your forensic device? Is there a way that could be giving and throwing out and writing improperly and kick back false numbers? I mean, it could,
It,
right?
it, absolutely. And you know, thanks, Ron, for bringing up the thing about NIST. Yes, um, on the NIST Computer Forensic Tools Testing Group and webs, there are reports for right blocker tested and other.
We're losing you again, Greg.
And NIST has a Linux package that you can download and test your. We be
Yeah, we're losing you again, Greg. Anyway, I'm looking up this real quick, testing write blockers. And Ron, maybe you can help me out here until we get Greg back. I was looking. Oh man, this is a really old PDF that's on here from like 2006. I don't know if the testing's changed since then, but I literally went to NIST and it says testing write blockers, and it is like a. And Ron, maybe you can correct me here until we get Greg back. Is it like a yellow looking background, a PDF? I mean, it's screaming early 2000s. And no offense to James Lyle, a person who wrote it. I'm more concerned about the information that's in it than I am the graphical presentation it is. And Ron, I see you writing this stuff out. Do you think that the forensic community should be standard? I will ask Greg that when he comes back. But if, yeah, I'm looking for anywhere. I just did a quick a Google search for the NIST testing write blockers, and there's a couple different ones that I found here. So I don't think you guys can post links into chat here on YouTube. I know you cannot, or at least I don't think you can. You can sure as heck try. It's literally, Ron. I was on NIST.gov, and it's in the PDF is called testing write blockers. It's from James R. Lyle from November 6th of 2006. So it's it's an older document, but if the practices are still good in it, then I don't know. I'm looking at it on my screen. I don't want to put it up in case it's the wrong one. I don't want to lead people in the wrong direction, and you start heading down that wrong row in there. Hopefully Greg will come back here. I don't know if I'm going to give him a little push out the door here. There we go. He was still locked up. We'll give. There, he's calling back in. Oh, he's calling back in twice. That's weird. But we'll bring this Greg back in and see what happens here. Maybe Shadow Greg, number 11. Is that what that says on there? I think it does say 11. Anyway, we'll see if he can come back in on the system. Nope, he wasn't able to make it back in there. But again, testing's really, really important that we want to talk about those things. I used to test not nearly as much as what I should, but when I got the things in to test, I would make sure it was pretty thorough from that. Welcome back, Greg. Hopefully your net connection is going to cooperate.
Yeah, wow, that one was bad.
Testing went great. We stayed on because I always bring guests on to tests, right? And our testing was fine. And today the networks are just finicky, just absolutely finicky, which
Yeah.
it is what it is. When we're talking, the question that came in while you were gone, so we have a good place to pick up on is that, well, Ron was talking about the NIST guide for testing write blockers. And then he asked a question that said, do you think that the forensic community should use a standard validation process for all the tools? Because he feels that the different organizations use different methods. What are your thoughts with that?
there should be some standardization so that, um, if you end up, let's say you're a government investigator and you end up on a big task force and you go with your equipment and another person from another agency goes with their equipment, that that equipment has been tested to the same relative standards. Maybe the exact process was a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
but the ultimate standard for testing, let's say a right blocker, test it with known good data. And I say known data, that way you can recognize possibly if something is not there. Um, Hashes are a good way to start that, but going and looking at the data is a follow up to that. Um, I used to teach um, agents and then investigators at Ernst & Young when I was there and all that, that before you leave the scene, you need to validate the fact that you've got evidence, that you have data on your evidence drives. And I had to send a consultant back out on our dime to redo an image because he didn't do it. And he got back and, well, stuff was blank. And, this was in, you know, um, early 2000-ish,
Mm.
when stuff wasn't always working properly. Like, um, you know, the at the time the save button on Encase was your friend because it didn't do a real good job of auto saving its progress in
Mm.
searches. Um, but yeah, there should be um, some level of standardization, and that's what the um, tools testing group at NIST is trying to propagate.
Yeah. Now I see Tom here is on YouTube. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. And Tom says that and
Mhm.
I'm just going to read the letters on this. If it's an acronym of something, I'm horrible. The ANAB accredited labs have standard operating procedures for hardware right blocker testing. Um, is that something, Tom, that's publicly available? Do you know? Because I'd like to repost some of this stuff on Cyber Social Hub, because helping people standardize and making sure they're doing it right is one of our goals, to make sure that, hey, we're helping each other out and giving each other free advice, to make sure not we're gonna, the cross examination is the worst already. And the last thing, and I remember my years up on the stand, it doesn't take much to make me look stupid. I already did most of the work for the defense to make me look that way, and all they have to do is push it over the edge, right? So it doesn't take much. So the thing is, anything that can help these guys out are great. Guys and gals, sorry. Um, so Tom says, hold on, let me put this one up here. It says each lab has their own SOPs required by ISO. Okay, so they have to create their own. So it's not like there's already a standard out there. It looks like it's regulated by the 17025, which is okay. Oh, that's why I didn't recognize the name. I didn't realize. Oh, hang on. Let me put this up so I know what this. I didn't really realize it was formerly an ASCLD thing. I didn't know it was under a new
Yeah.
thing, because I haven't done a case, an actual like investigation. I left law enforcement full time. I still keep my commission just in case. You never know. 10 years ago now. And I haven't worked a case. I've been in corporate world training and still doing some research and stuff like that. So that's interesting to know that that's changed over. Now, what I did notice, Greg, also is that Weebitech, aka it's under the crew link here, shows on a page on their website that, hey, these tools are already NIST tested. And it shows very specifically. I'm going to bring us over, and hopefully we don't lose audio here. I'm going to cross my fingers because I haven't
Mhm.
used this
Yep.
button, and I didn't practice this. So here we go. Let's push this button and make sure we still both have audio. It looks like we still both have audio. Good. We can continue talking. So it shows these are NIST approved, or not necessarily approved, but when we say
Well,
tested for proven reliability is how they've worded it.
Well, actually, um, at least two of those I tested myself with the Right Blocker Validation Utility and submitted the reports to NIST, who then goes through it and validates the fact that I'm saying that the test did validate that the right blocker did right block, and then it goes through DHS and gets all kinds of fancy stuff done to it and reviews, and then it gets published on their website.
Mm-hmm.
And I started talking with the guys at NIST about this again last year, because traditionally, to get something tested by NIST, they had to buy the product and then run their own internal test on it, and then they would publish the test. Well, when they published the Linux testing tool, they realized that, they wouldn't have to buy all of them. They could have, XYZ investigator do the test and submit that report. Well, the same thing was set up with the Right Blocker Validation Utility from WeBTech. NIST provided us some criteria for the report, and so any investigator or examiner has right blockers can use the utility to test a right. The right blocker validation utility will work with any right blocker. It automatically recognizes the WeBTech ones because we don't have the APIs from Tableau to automatically recognize theirs, but you can manually enter the information about the right blocker to include, make, model, serial number, version number, and you can create your own report. And it happens fast enough that you could actually do a report on a right blocker and put it in your case file, so that if the question ever came up, hey, when was the last time this thing was tested before you use it? Well, I tested it right before I used it. Here's the report.
Right.
I mean, it's easy to do, and it gives you just one less thing for defense to bust your chops about.
Yeah, and defense is really good at that. And I haven't perused this website in years. I haven't even looked at right blockers for years. And things are pretty freaking cool. I'm going to look at these a little bit more, some of these things that are out here, these imagers. And because, heck, when I started, I don't remember the name of the handheld thing that was out. And I don't want to, misstate and mess it up. But it was this handheld thing. It was yellow, I think. And man, it was just slow as can be. But at the time, we were like, oh, this is super fast, right? And now by today's standards, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 3 years to image one drive. And now they can be done in just minutes, which is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That the tech's
I can remember dreading having to image a 512 megabyte drive. But once we started using right blockers, the target was 2 gigabytes a minute, and we were tickled to death if we got there. Now it's, you can do a terabyte drive in 21 minutes.
Insane. That's insanity. That's insanity. And Jail's got some awesome chat going on down there about some of the standard methods and stuff. And as he clarified his statement that you still need to verify, right, quote unquote, verify your equipment regardless. Because,
yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
I oversaw some development teams in corporate world. For forensic products, and were there bugs in the system? Yes, there's always a bug in somewhere, and the hardware is no different because it takes software to run it, right? And even components can be bad. They can absolutely be bad.
Yes.
And they necessarily may not jump out and let you know, hey, I'm a bad component, but you have to have to test, and that's everything from. I know we've been really focused on right blockers, but you have to test everything. everything that
Hmm.
you could possibly think. When you get a new machine in, test everything. Try to break it. Like
Yes.
Greg said, he's good at breaking stuff, and normally people that tinker are really good at breaking things because it just you have to have that passion to make sure things are working. I tested. There was a company not too long ago that I was testing stuff. They were releasing a product. I got hands on an early version of it, and they said, "Hey, can you test this for us?" And it was simple right blocking stuff, so it was a pretty easy test. And when hashes start coming back wrong, like instantly, it's like, no, something's wrong inside. You gotta go fix it. I can't tell you what's wrong because I don't know. Just fix it. They ended up
Hmm.
getting the problem fixed and releasing the product. It was all good. But again, you have to check those things out there for sure.
Yeah. We did a lot of testing with solid state drives when they first started coming out
Mm.
because there were some academic papers put out that said, solid state drives were the end of forensics
Yeah, right. I remember.
because and I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah,
People said PGP was the end of forensics, BitLocker was the end of forensics.
yeah,
And we just changed our methodologies a little bit and did some problem solving. And with solid state drives, basically you change your expectations of not getting deleted data back.
hmm
Um, but you still had to really test it. Um, and there are ways to see if somebody has gone to their system and turned off trim or turned trim back on in Windows. Prefetch is a good thing. So
yeah, exactly right. So JL just says, "Hey, just learned about the WeWeTech hot plug yesterday. Love the engineering and functionality behind this. I have no idea what this product is, but I'm sure you know it right off the top of your head, don't you?"
real quick, hot plug was designed to allow an investigator to put this device between the wall socket and the computer's plug,
Oh my gosh, I saw the
and
this.
and it will you can connect the whole thing through an UPS, and you can unplug and support the computer without it shutting down.
Yeah, I
Yes.
saw. I
The
think.
very first time
Go ahead, Greg.
I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Somebody gets shocked, but no, it's it really is a neat concept, and
Yeah.
it's very popular in Europe.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. I don't know if it's this if it's your guys or not, but I was going through IASIS in 2003 or 5. Now I forgot what year I went through. You'd never forget that
mhm,
torture. But it was one of those years. And one of the presentations, they allow vendors to come in and give quick presentations sometimes. I saw the early concepts. It didn't look this smooth yet. It
mhm.
was a concept
Yeah,
that was in I think it was being produced back then. But that was amazing to me that yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, I personally I would not try that. I would shock the living bejesus out of myself, right? And my hair already kind of is grown the wrong way. It's going forward, and then it would stand straight up and it'd be all over the place. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. There are times that you need to do something like that.
yeah, for sure. So Ron says it was '09. So maybe they did it again in '09 because I was there way before '09. I have to grab my ISIS books now. I don't remember what year I freaking went through there. And that's how bad it is because it's been a long time and I'm in my 50s now and I can't remember stuff. It's starting to happen, man. It's all going downhill for me. So, holy crap! Is it really 5 minutes still? Is it really?
Yeah.
Have we been talking like almost a full hour already?
Yep.
We have. Holy crap! That went by super fast.
It
Yeah.
did.
Oh my gosh. So I want to make sure anyone who has questions, and I know there was a couple questions back that I might have missed. So I'm going to scan real quick, and I know one of them.
Sure.
I think who asked it? Ricard asked it, and I have no idea what you're asking here, and I apologize because this is beyond my knowledge. And if Greg, I don't know, we can get some clarification on this. It says, is random bit switch a thing when it comes to long-term storage of drives, like up to 10 years? I am not sure what that means. Do you?
Not specifically, but I think he's probably talking about degradation of the magnetic field on a rotating drive, um, and possibly more so with solid state drives.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, um, you shouldn't have to store evidence for 10 years.
Um, well, I know
I
some of the
can't
laws say
imagine.
that, hey, if it
But
was a death, felony, homicide, stuff.
right,
Now, this is when I was in, right? You have to keep
hmm
that crap forever. You can't get rid of
yeah.
it anytime soon.
Um,
They might as well
well,
say forever.
well,
Oh, I
you
think we're
can't
losing your
you
audio
get
again there, Greg.
disposition instructions from the legal. Oh, is it back?
Yeah, you're back
Hello.
now. Yep, you're back.
Okay. You can't, whether you're law enforcement or in the civil world, you can't get rid of evidence until you get disposition instructions from a legal authority,
Hmm.
and so you do have to keep it. I haven't really heard much of degradation of magnetic fields on devices in a very long time.
Yeah, I knew there were some issues because we did a little homework when we built our lab up. We built some servers that we could transfer it off quickly every few years. Then we'd move data literally over to a new server and then boom, replace those. And they didn't last long. They were literally a couple years, and then we'd have to switch hardware over, which was
Mm-hmm.
pricey. Yeah, the administration didn't like that one bit, but we wanted to make sure the data integrity stayed well. And it was, on servers where we weren't taking a drive
Mm-hmm.
essentially off and then storing it on a shelf somewhere, because we knew, well, again, research papers at that time, we knew that, hey, it's best that a drive stays spinning. They like to stay moving. So, but I don't know, maybe all that was a bunch of hoo-ha. And I
Yep.
heard back then, we didn't verify. We just wanted to be safe. And a lot of the conferences at that time that I was going to, some people addressed this back then. I don't have the answer. So I don't know if you know that answer.
I don't for sure. I know that there are a lot of people that when they have to store data a long time, they will exercise the drive every couple of years, um, just to keep the magnetic fields fresh. But does it really help? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'd be interesting to, maybe we can find some good articles or somebody
Dang
willing
it.
to submit some research that they had done about that. And again, that's it's two guys that's been in the industry a long time. Probably just now we'd have to start worrying about evidence degradation from when we when we started on early on, and neither one of us are doing it anymore. So honestly, it's not a big priority to me. But obviously, people that want to be concerned about it, it's something we need to consider. And I want to leave. I'm going to make sure I put that question up in there. If anyone else knows, plop it into chat. Or once we're not live anymore, unfortunately, the chat stays so people can read it and see it during the replay of this. But you'll have to put it in the comment down below. And come to YouTube to do that if you don't mind, because I know we're broadcasting out to 4 different ones currently, to Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. YouTube's kind of our home base for the streaming and all of that stuff. They've been a great a partner to us so far, and they made us actual official partners several months back, which is nice. So we get some data perks to that, which is even better. So yeah, if you know the answer to that question, or come into Cyber Social Hub and post it. Greg, I know you're pretty active in there. We were having a conversation earlier about some OSINT stuff,
Yep.
and in there. So if you guys haven't joined Cyber Social Hub, make sure you go ahead and do so. It's free, and literally we don't do anything with your. See, JL says state requires data to be retained. Hold on, let me put this up. My state requires case data to be retained 75 years. Yeah, that's pretty much a lifetime, right? In today's standards. If I'm hoping to make it that long with
That
of my lifestyle choices I've made over the years.
That that's the same amount of time that you can't talk about classified information
Yeah.
once um, you left the ability to have because in 75 years nobody's going to care.
You're right. Generally, that's the way it works. Normally, I mean, with the attention span of some of the things, especially in the media that I've been seeing here lately, it's like 2 weeks, and then people are like, "Ah, 2 weeks. That was 2 weeks ago. Shoot, that was forever." But yeah, anyway. So any last minute questions for Greg? You can find him in Cyber Social Hub. You can probably get a hold of him over at WeBeCheck as well. If you haven't had a chance to check out their website, do so. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and I'm glad you pointed out that hot plug field kit. I haven't seen that. I didn't know it still existed. That's awesome, and that is great. You definitely don't want to shut things down, and it's still a valid point to this day. Because I remember first seeing that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome." Oh, Todd's in here. Hey, Todd. Says it's a longer conversation. Short answer is that it's possible, and I missed what we were possibling about. Todd, sorry. We have to remember.
Magnetic data degradation, probably.
Oh yeah, it could be that. It could be that. That we have to be concerned about those kind of things. I keep forgetting our broadcast, especially since we broadcast out to 4. We're like on I think it's like a 15-second delay, which means as you and I are talking, the audience doesn't hear it for another 15 seconds. Which it's everyone asks me, "Hey, is that intended to bleep out the swear words?" No, no, just don't swear because YouTube will get a ding on me if we do that. But we'll be okay. Other than that, and then it's I had to use one of my sound effects anyway. So all right, Greg, man, I appreciate you you coming on and taking your time out of your semi-retired kind of life, traveling around and still working for WeBeTech, and talking to us a little bit about why that hardware matters, and it's something we forget about. So, man, I really, really appreciate it. And are you going to be at Techno Security in June?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. I have, and I don't have it here with me anymore. I cleaned my desk off because I'm trying to be more organized in 2023. But I have some swag for you if I haven't given you this stuff yet.
Awesome.
I gave you a coin, I think. Did I give you a coin?
No.
Okay, well, I have one here for you, and I'll have a whole bunch of these
Awesome.
with Cyber Social Hub on it. But I also have, and you can't really see it, I think it's that one right there. There's all of our shot glasses that we've done over the years, and we have a new one for this year, and I'll get that to you. It's actually made from, it's a 30 millimeter shell casing fired out of an A10 Warthog. And it was a training round, so depleted uranium doesn't exist, so you don't have to worry about growing a third eye as you drink from it. If you're not a drinker, you can make candles out of it. It's entirely up to you.
Oh, shot glasses are good.
Yes, they are. Especially at Techno. That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, Greg, hey, man, thank you very much. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to talk to you here in the room afterwards. But everyone else, thank you very much again. If you have any questions for Greg, he is in Cyber Social Hub. You can go to cybersocialhub.com. Also, make sure you visit them over at WeBeTech.com. And say hello to them. Until then, Greg, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks everybody for showing up.